bitte mich hier, du konntest seine Antwort nicht hören.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are connected and we're live now with our special guest in the studio. This brother from West Papua is gonna be our special exclusive guest on this Pan-African Daily TV today. And topic is all you want to know about West Papua. Everything we want to know about our brothers and sisters in West Papua. Yes, our brother Raki is here to educate us, to mentor to us, and to tell us the situation out there with our brothers and sisters in the entire Pacific region, and particularly, you know, the activities and the inhuman treatment of our brothers and sisters out there that were plucked up, you know, just like goods transported over the Atlantic Ocean and sold as cargoes. Today we miss them so much. The continent is crying, and we see the reason why we can never be a united Africa. We can't unite to speak with one voice when our people, part of us, our DNA, our strengths, our lineage, our legacy is still somewhere out there suffering. Until we are complete as a people, then can we talk about a united Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you today on this edition, and a special exclusive one on West Papua, the history, the culture, the language, what happened, how did our brothers on the continent found themselves in this miserable situation. But let me start by asking you how you're doing today. How is life treating you out there, brothers and sisters? What is going out? What is going on in your respective regions and entire places where you are scattered around the continent? Let me know how you're doing today. Desiree, I can see you. Snappy Sap, you said always on point. Queen Aurelie Pondi, my superstar, my model, you know, Queen Aurelie Pondi is a woman of virtue. Is a queen from the origin of, you know, Africa, and she represents in her own way the potential of our unity, of our being together, one people, not, you know, independent of our countries of origin. Queen Aurelie is always on point. She's the one always sharing, you know, particular dishes, you know, our stuff, our food. And she's been sharing it on Facebook. And you want to get a look, you want to get a taste of all the delicious and delicacies that we have. Queen Aurelie is located in Strasbourg. Our sister, we greet and salute you. And we thank you for being with us today. To listen to our brothers that were taken into slavery 400 years ago. I mean, we're talking about us on the continent. We're talking about bad leadership. We're talking about bad governance. We're talking about the inability for people, for young people to have jobs. And we're talking about the general insecurity that is affecting us as a continent and a people. But can you imagine that our brothers and sisters are somewhere still undergoing slavery? They still are slaves, still treated as animals. I mean, I think animals out here, people even still respect them and they treat them with some kind of humanity and some kindness. But our brothers and sisters, the same color like you and me, the same attitude like you and me, the same how do I want to say, temperament like you and me. They talk, they sing, they dance, they laugh, they articulate, they dress like you and me, are still under slavery, are still under colonization. This is unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Today we want to educate ourselves about them, because most of the time we talk about a united Africa. We want to unite ourselves. We want to have a continent with a running and functional system that is represents the interests of its people. But most of the time we forget to know that we can never be united when our brothers and sisters in the Pacific, in the Caribbean, and in Haiti, in Brazil, and even in Turkey. Even in Turkey, we have black people. In India, we have black people. In China, they have blacks of origin. I mean, you can see the whole world is black. Black people are in every format represented in all the countries and continents and cultures of the world. But we've been busy talking only about us on the continent, forgetting to know that part of us is out there crying to come back on the continent, crying to just be on the motherland, that we are even talking about different things that to them doesn't really matter right now. One thing that the people of West Papua just want is a place called home, a place where their ancestors originated, a place where they feel at peace with one another, with their brothers and sisters. And we can never be a united Africa, ladies and gentlemen, without having these brothers and sisters with us. It is impossible. And I think this is one of the reasons, this is the main reasons that we've been suffering for so long. And we keep looking for the solutions of a united Africa. But we always focus on the 54 or 55 countries, now 56 with the diaspora region out of Africa. We've never thought that our brothers and sisters are out there somewhere. Nobody knows them. They treat them like animals, like pigs. Even those that are in prison for no reason, they've been guarded by snakes, ladies and gentlemen. And in the 21st century, where even animals in the West are regarded, plants and nature are treated with all dignity, with all respect, with all caution. People that speak and talk and walk and contribute to the general growth and peace on the entire continent that is making up of 7 billion people are still under slavery somewhere. How can we have peace? How can we have peace among us? Why can we be considered as a united people that can speak with one voice and one nation when our brothers are somewhere? When we see them, we look at them as foreigners. Yes, we look at them as, oh, she's from Brazil, even though she's really you in everything, in texture and everything. And when we even take their hair and we are saying it's Brazilian hair, it's black hair. Yes, it's black hair. Simple like that. And we begin to discriminate others. Our brothers in the Caribbean, those in Jamaica, those in Haiti, what can we say? I mean, look at this wonderful population of our people, of black people on the entire continent that are just scattered. Just scattered. They don't even have a home. We even have one. We have one. We know our siblings. We know our neighbors. We know our family lineage. We know our community. We know our chiefs. You understand? We know our traditions. They know nothing. Like somebody just sold you for a slave, and now you have to adopt him. But at the end of the day, you know, he adopts you, transform you like, you know, a kind of a mini you, him, but you don't have any facilities of becoming like him. You speak his language, you eat his food, you know nothing about your own story because they wiped it away. And now you're like them. But you look at in the mirror, you begin to ask yourself, this is not how I look like. It is like giving a child into adoption. And that child goes and he's inherited in another family. Can you think the child would ever be at peace? No. No matter what, the love of a mother has been torn apart from the love of a child and the father. And so their souls are torn apart and they will cry wherever they are. And you can never know no peace, Africa. Africa, you can't know peace when your children are still out there. They're looking for a way to come back home. They want to get back. They want to get access to their brothers and sisters. They are torn apart. We can't find peace. We cannot. And we wonder why we are in insecurity. We wonder why we keep fighting against one another. We wonder why we are confused. Even for Africans to understand Africans, it's a problem among us. Why? because there's something that is not acting up. We're complaining about the lack of good governance on our continent. Where do we think all these things are coming from? We've been talking about root cause, the root cause of the inability of bad governance or good governance on the continent. We talk about how our leaders are working on the agenda of the West. Now, but the only thing that we are not talking about is why? Why this? Why all this for decades? Why should we have that kind of a leadership? Why should we have that kind of a governance? Why are we, even just as Black people, looking one another as I am from country A, you're from country B, you are like this, when we speak basically the same languages? We eat the same food, we dress the same, our hairstyle is the same, our color is the same, our nose are the same, everything is the same. Why is it that somebody would tell us we are different and we accept? It has nothing to do with leadership. It has nothing to do with the governance of Africa. It has nothing to do even with humanity. It has nothing to do with the West. It has something now in this time of the pandemic to do with you and me. How do you see me? Do you see me as an enemy or you see me as a sister? Because we quarrel over boundaries, people, boundaries. Over land, over property that all of us are passing away and will leave it soon. We fight and kill ourselves in the name of others. Why? Because the souls of our brothers and sisters are weeping. They're mourning. They will turn off from us and we back us on them. Africa, your children need you. Africa, your children need you. Until you gather all your children worldwide, they must not come back home on the continent. They already have a place where they are. But at least we can show solidarity. That's the spirit and the philosophy of Ubuntu. That is the power of humanity in us, given to us as a blessing from God, from nature, that we must look at each other in the mirror and we see our brothers and sisters. And that the spirit of from us to us is in us. That's the unity that binds us. We can talk about every other thing on this platform. We can talk about all sort of theories and business plans and economic plans and solutions of whatever for Africa. One thing is of a very fundamental use to us. The spirit of oneness. Until I look at you and I don't see a difference in you, we might have a difference in conversation. We might have a difference in argument or other things or in processes. The way you look at life, I look at it different. But we cannot have a difference based on our race. We cannot, people. And these discussions, we've never been having it. And that's why you see the tribal wars. Just coming from, one person and the two brothers fighting and killing themselves in the name of boundaries. In the name of some kind of agendas that if you ask us, we can't even define them. But it's a brother and a brother. How can you want to explain to me that you relocate to the United States of America, for instance, and you join the military as an African American, and there is war between America and your country, and you are sent to your own country and you fight and kill your people in the name of a country? People, Africans, we are above that. We are above that. We are even above some kind of professions when it goes to tatter the dignity of your people. You don't take it for a job. When you know the impact on humanity, on lives, you don't take it for a job that you earn a living and put food on your table. No. We have to think, people. We have to reflect, and we have to be us. And we should stop always saying, oh, it's because they colonize us. It's because they globalize us. How many years today, people? How many years? Germany fought 2 wars. France had been through a revolution. All countries on the world have their history, but they came together. They threw all their past and they built themselves. They built their own selves as people. and they build their countries and they're comfortable in it, and we're running and coming to them. We need to come together, Africa, build our own home, give the possibility for our brothers and sisters in the East, in all over diaspora, to have access and connect to us. And we see ourselves as one people, one voice, one ancestors. We're Black people. God was not stupid to make us Black and make some other race different. Why must we always just mingle and don't know where we belong to? Why must we initiate our children into things that are tantamount to them? And we look at ourselves as inferior and look at some people as, as I don't know. No. So we have our brother Raki with us. He's going to be sharing incredible stories about the people in West Papua. Not only about the situation, but the entire history, what we need to learn and know about our brothers out there. So it is a conversation that we're going to have with him. Of course, he's going to talk about the challenges, and he's always going to be here with us. Yes, he's always going to be here with us. Like we say, it is a platform from us to us. And so we will go around the 89 countries on the continent, and they are already part of it. Just like our brothers in the Dominica, in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, in Haiti, all of them are here with us to stay. We are not a mainstream media where people just come and talk and go. We are a platform, we are a house, we are a family, we are the Afro world, connecting us and our brothers in the diaspora for the betterment of one Africa. One Africa, not geographically only, but one African people in our minds and connecting us. Yes. So I would usher brother Raki. I know, Lawrence. Lawrence is saying, we have been so hurt. We have been so hurt, sister. You can understand us when we are frustrated. Yes, I understand you, Lawrence. Do you think, why am I here? Because I understand us. I understand that we've been coming from so far, but then we are here today and we're still alive. We have a chance to make it better. If we just forget about this pain and we share our common values together and have these discussions every evening, even if just 2 or 3 hours a day, then we will do a lot by healing ourselves and we will get over it. I promise you, we are making it already. We're making a very big difference. And that's the reason we are here today. It is not about material. It is not about development or whatever. Those will come. But the first point is us connecting and building the part that was stolen from us back to form a complete us. Then we can talk about development on the way. And I can guarantee you they have a lot of experience too that they're bringing back home that we can learn from each other. So it is broken pieces that are coming back together from us to us. So ladies and gentlemen, our brother is here. He's so handsome. He's so cute. And he has this cloth, this traditional things that represent us, that makes us from us to us. You see his scarf, you see his hair, decoration stuff that I posted, his body paintings. Oh, you get goosed. They're still very natural and they keep themselves closest to nature. And so this is a lot of things we can learn to just appreciate ourselves again, do our body paintings. Hello, brother Raki.
Hello, sister. Hello there, African brothers and sisters. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on the globe. And I'm very glad to having this opportunity on your show, sister. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, brother. Brother, it is a wonderful pleasure to connect with you. I feel complete. I feel there always was something that was lacking in me. And as I met you, those things are beginning to fit in place. And it's like a broken part of me is coming back. And that's what everyone that is watching you today has the same feeling. We're gaining you back after losing you for more than 400 years, brother. I mean, I had this discussion with you and you told me it's never been easy. And I want you to share this moving moments of your story, and the whole entire everything that you want us to know about West Papua. You have the stage, and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. It really, the feeling is exactly the same. It's like you welcoming us back in the family, right? As African descent. So this feels absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to educate and share experiences with our African brothers and sisters about a story which is, of course, unfortunately, about colonialism. Things that our African brothers and sisters know very well, but it didn't end at slavery. Absolutely not. And that is something I want to highlight in my story, which will start right at the painting right behind me for the people who can see it. The man on the painting is my father. He was my father, and he still inspires me today of how he's not here physically. And the reason is this. My father was an anthropologist, a famous musician in West Papua, and his music still inspires a lot of West Papuans. But what happened to him was that his music in the early 60s, late 80s, was inspiring that much indigenous West Papuans that the new colonizers after the Netherlands, which was our former colonizer, which transferred illegally the sovereignty to the Indonesia we know today. And since Indonesia became the new colonizer in 1963, when they invaded West Papua with a military invasion operation, we become occupied and our freedom was oppressed and people are being killed. And one of them was my father, Arnold App. He was an anthropologist and a musician, as I said, and the only thing he did was making songs about the desire of being an independent country, which the Dutch promised us. It didn't happen, so he continues to make music about the importance of our identity, the way we dress, the way we cook, the way we learn our children to respect nature and live with it, how it can be your home, your supermarket. Those elements he brought into his song. And because he's an anthropologist, West Papua has like more than 250 tribes with their own languages. So the magic he created with his music is he brought all these different tribes together through music, which was very powerful. And that is exactly the threat their new colonizers saw. And Indonesia put him in prison. And just 4 months before I was born, 1984, my father was assassinated by the Indonesian Special Forces, which created a scenario where he should flee and they shoot him in the back. And that was the reason me and my 3 brothers and my mother fled to the neighboring country, which is Papua New Guinea we know today. It's the eastern half of the island of New Guinea. And I am from the western half of the island of New Guinea. And as you can see, there is a western half and an eastern half. And this is all about colonialism. Western countries came there from the early 1600s. You know, they do the trade, they colonize countries, they kill people. And at a certain point, we became a Dutch colony. And under international supervision, this illegal transfer to Indonesia happened. And then we became an Indonesian colony and all the killings started. And my father's story is, as we know today, NGOs are estimating more than 500,000 killings of indigenous West Papuans. That's 1/3 of our population. What? In 2020, brothers and sisters, Indonesia is trying to hide their secret colony. And we talk about a genocide against the black Melanesian people in West Papua, with our own ethnicity, you know, our own kind of geography with the island of New Guinea, closely to the Pacific Island nations. We are, you know, very clearly a black nation, black people, curly hair, dark skin, with our own traditions, and we're being wiped out on our own country. So, since my father was killed, we fled to the Netherlands, where we asked asylum. And I grew up there, as you know, as a Dutch kid. Didn't realize yet why I didn't have a father anymore. But when I grew up and I get older, at a certain point, I asked my mother, Mom, why don't I have a father anymore? And then I heard the big story and the truth about why we fled to the Netherlands and why I didn't have a father anymore. And that was the moment that I transformed to the person I become today. A storyteller, indigenous storyteller from West Papua, educating people in the Netherlands, universities, academics, at events, doesn't matter where. People have to know what is happening there. And that is exactly what Indonesia and all their other colonizers, the Netherlands and all their friends, the US, Australia, don't want the world to know. What is happening, for example, in West Papua, a colonized territory of black people, because the circumstances is that the world's biggest gold mine is located there. And of course, there's a second largest copper mine is there and all kinds of other mineral resources. So that is their interest. The black indigenous West Papuans is not their interest. So these stories, they kept a secret until this day. And that is why we have realized under the leadership of Benny Wenda, which is our independence leader, the chairman of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua. He initiated Free West Papua campaign. And last year I got the honor and confidence to be the spokesperson. And my role is to educate people about what is happening in West Papua in 2020. A genocide is going on, and 1/3 of our population has already been killed. So it is really a pleasure to educate my brothers and sisters in Africa and the African diaspora abroad about this importance and what stories which have been kept a secret, and hope is now reaching because we have internet, we have these kinds of platforms where we can share stories, where we can connect and collaborate. And that is something which gives me a lot of optimism. Sister, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, brother. I'm just listening. I'm just like, wow. And so what is the stage in your life in which you thought giving back to your people is just putting their stories out there to reach out to their brothers and sisters?
So yes, so our cry for freedom all felt for, I think, more than 60 years now, since we are a colony of Indonesia, in deaf ears and blind eyes. So our hope was in the first place to the Pacific Island region, and we see a lot of support now coming from our brothers and sisters in the Pacific region, and we saw a lot of support from the Caribbean and also from Africa, and we really need grassroots movements in Africa as well, but also academic students, everybody who has a voice to raise awareness and put pressure on the African governments to look about what is happening against their brothers and sisters in West Papua, and to show support for our desire and right for self-determination. So that is the focus of our campaign, reaching out to the world, and especially to our family in Africa, to being a voice for us in these times when Indonesia is banning all kinds of media, making sure that this story is not getting out. So we are crying for help, and that is absolutely something we are working on a daily basis to find support from everyone, but especially we are feeling home at our African family, and this is a huge step which Indonesia and their friends won't like, that there are black brothers and sisters will stand up and raise their voice.
Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about the history and anything that you want us to know? Because like most of the people watching are probably hearing this for the first time. Yes. The conflict, of course, has been on the air, just like any other conflict that we have on the continent. Yeah. But we want to know where is West Papua located, and yes, the history, the culture. What is the percentage of the people? Who are those actually? I know, but I want the audience to understand who are those that keep keep you in slavery, you know, and why? You already said that it's one of the biggest island and the hot pot of gold and diamonds. So like, you know, we can imagine that when they relocated you or your ancestors from Africa and they left them, were they working in plantations, or how did they find themselves there? Were they laborers, and then later on now, which the place became theirs, and now the people want to own it?
Yes, so thank you. That's a great heads up, sister. So I will dive in a little bit for the viewers about where West Papua is located on the world map. For those who don't know it, it's the big island right above the Australian continent in the Pacific region. You got a big island, and that's the island of New Guinea. And since I think 1600, the first European arrived there with the Portuguese and the Spains in the early 1600s, you know, occupying certain territories for trade and for spices. And the first official claim of the island of New Guinea was made by the Dutch. So the Kingdom of the Netherlands, they take over the area which is the Indonesia we know today, included the western half of the island of New Guinea. So we got like the island split in two. So the eastern part became colonies of the British and the German. And on a later stage in the 1900s, it became part of Australia. But the western half, where I'm from and where my story is going about, was part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So since 1600, the Netherlands arrived there and they created the island state of the Dutch East Indies. So they, you know, all for trade, spiceries, and they committed a lot of violence against the indigenous communities there, which we know today as, you know, Javanese, Indonesian people on the other islands of the archipelago of Indonesia. But the western half of island of New Guinea, the West Papuans were actually, they left them behind because they didn't find out the gold mine yet in the early 1600s. They just found it out late 1900. So they left the indigenous West Papuans the way they lived. So there was no threat when the Dutch arrived. So the violence actually started halfway the Second World War, where the Japanese conquered the Dutch territories at that time. And then Indonesia used that opportunity, and it is their right, you know, to push away the Dutch colonizers who violated all the basic rights, killing the people as well. So we, of course, encouraging that Indonesia got their independence. But after that, the Dutch didn't allow them to have West Papua, so the western half of the island of New Guinea. But what Indonesia did, they said, you know, Dutch, you have to go away, which I support because, you know, colonialism is colonialism. So Indonesia deserved independence. But what they did is they occupied a new territory which clearly didn't belong to Indonesia, which is West Papua. So after the independence of the Indonesian state in 1945, 1949, they threatened the Netherlands with a war if they didn't transfer West Papua to the Indonesian archipelago. So there was a kind of fight between the Netherlands government and the Indonesian government, and under huge pressure of the United States in a geopolitical game because of the communism versus the US, which played the Vietnam War. It all happened in the same period. So what the US didn't want was a kind of second Vietnam. So they forced the Dutch to hand over West Papua to the Indonesia we know. So we paid a price for, national interest of the United States, the Dutch, Australia, whatever. And what happened in 1962 is that the Dutch and Indonesia signed a agreement, which we know as the New York Agreement, in the headquarters of the United Nations in New York. They signed an agreement without any consultation of the indigenous West Papuans, and they decided to transfer the territory to Indonesia. So our future was disappeared without having the opportunity to say anything. So that was actually a a act of illegal act against international law. I will come back on that later. Because the importance of this is that they violated international law, but it happened because the UN was there. It was all facilitated by the United Nations under pressure of the United States. So it happened. But in that act of the agreement the Dutch and Indonesia signed, they decided that the indigenous West Papuans should have a free vote, which we know as the Act of Free Choice. And it happened in 1969, where the West Papuans should have a opportunity of a referendum where they could vote whether they want to be part of Indonesia or not. But the referendum didn't happen conform the principle one man, one vote. What did happen was that Indonesia handpicked 1,026 men on gunpoint and threatening them and their families to say, if you don't vote for being part of Indonesia, you all are going to be killed. And that was the referendum. And the United Nations were there, observers of the UN were there, the US were there, Australia was aware of that, the Netherlands were aware of that, and they all letting it happen. So since then, West Papua was actually, handed over to a new colonizer, Indonesia, with all results we see today. 500,000 West Papuans being killed. And West Papua has, like, after the Amazon and the Congo back, and we have the third largest rainforest in the world. So it's a huge environmental habitat. And what Indonesia is doing, they letting all these extractive industries coming in, destroying these indigenous lands, intimidating indigenous West Papuans who lived there for 8 centuries from the land. And if they don't go away, they kill them. So that is a short timeline where West Papua become part of the colonizers' game from the Netherlands to the new colonizers, Indonesia. And since then, West Papua became a new colony of the Indonesian state. And it has resulted in ecocide and genocide against the indigenous West Papuans. So that's a short timeline about what happened in West Papua right above the Australian continent.
So is the situation today just still like, I just want to get a picture of how it looks like they just come into the neighborhoods where they want to get the land for whatever thing they want, and they will have to arrest all of them, put them in prison, or just kill them? So
it's like this. An important context to add, so this is a really, really good question, sister, is when before Indonesia and the Netherlands hand over West Papua to the Indonesia we know today, the Dutch was actually preparing West Papua to an independent state. Mm-hmm. On the royal decision, the then Queen Juliana hand over an official West Papuan flag. They installed a first government. There was a national anthem. There was a West Papuan army, which we know as the West Papuan Voluntary Corps. So we were ready to take control and take governance of our territory until the United States, forced the Netherlands to hand over this territory to Indonesia. And since then, the West Papuans were marginalized. So we became a victim, a refugee in our own country, which have resulted in a racism, institutional racism against indigenous West Papuans on a daily basis. There's a lack of educational opportunity. There's no healthcare system for the West Papuans. There's no work. All those things are going to, the migrants from other parts of Indonesia. And so we are actually living as third and second class citizen in our own country, knowing that we have the world's biggest gold mine, second largest copper mine, and all kinds of other resources.
What is actually the population of West Guinea, Papua?
Papua? Yes, so it's now like estimation of 1.2 million indigenous West Papuans on the western half of the island of New Guinea. Versus since Indonesia came in, we see 1.3 million immigrants from other parts of Indonesia living in West Papua as well. So we are already becoming a minority in our own country, and having all these victims since Indonesia invaded West Papua, the 1/3 of the population have been killed. So If this continue and the voice stay quiet, we will extinct as race. And this is something we have to be prevent, and we do everything in our power to make sure that this won't happen.
Okay, brother. Yes, we are. I think that's what we're saying from the Pan-African Daily TV. We have the same goal.
Yes.
Because stories, be it in New Guinea, be it on the continent, in the Biafra land, be it in Cameroon, be it in Sudan, you know, be it in DRC Congo, it's the same story.
Absolutely.
We have the same story, and we're happy to have you here to educate us on this. Now, what does the culture looks like? Like for this 1.2 million our brothers and sisters out there, do they really like still keep their values of their ancestors, or I mean, I don't see you having one.
Yeah, absolutely. It is important. I think the majority of the, West Papuans are still living in peace with nature, having our cultures and values from centuries. We live, that there are tribes which actually haven't seen, white men. We have them in the deep jungle of West Papua, but of course, because we are colonized by the Netherlands, so we have the people who live in the cities are a lot of them. We have a lot of academics as well, a lot of students, So there's a double life in West Papua. Those who are connected and live in the cities, who have opportunities to go to school. Not a lot of them, because we are colonized, there's no equal opportunity. But there are a lot of indigenous West Papuans who still live with nature. And I think a core element among all West Papuans is that we love nature. The way, our identity is very important. And even in the Netherlands, what my father have taught me, not only me, but a lot of West Papuans, via his music, was the importance of keeping our culture and identity alive, because that is what makes us West Papuan. So these values still very lives among every West Papuan. And the weapon of our campaign and our struggle is our identity. The way we make music, the way we dress, the way we cook, the way our people, indigenous people, live there. That is what makes us, West Papuan. And that is the value we educate people here in the Netherlands and abroad. That, this identity is what makes us Papuan. And that is what we are going to die for if we don't have our identity anymore. We don't exist, right? So this is at the core element of who we are, as Black Nation people, Black Melanesian people. These are very important values, and I think we see it a lot with our brothers and sisters in Africa, but also in the Amazon and the Pacific region. Our values, to respect the Mother Nature. I think that's a really important element which we can see a lot in West Papua today.
This is very inspiring. This is very inspiring. I mean, we know about the conflict, we know about the situation, brother, and we from the continent are here to really show this kind of solidarity. I mean, we the common people, we the common people are raising our voices and say, we love you, we recognize you as part of us, and we know that we cannot function without you. We can't function without you. And I love your attire. When I saw this hat, I was like, hey, this hairdressing, I mean, it just gives you the pride. And this what you are saying, like maybe the weapons or the fight would not bring the kind of message or reconciliation or telling your stories, but your attire, your food, the way you look gives you that authentic and that original, what no one can take away from you. I mean, I cannot imagine the Indonesian people wanting to dress like you, and I know they admire and want it, but that one, because it's an identity, they can absolutely not do it. Now, I'm very interested because I try to see, like, you're the forest people, like we also have the forest people in my country, in Cameroon, the Pygmies. And they are really the people in the nature. I mean, you just want to be there with them. They have no technology. They are really the earth people. The earth people. They live with the basic what they have. They live from fishing and farming and are so close to nature. Even all this kind of modern civilization They are fighting against, technology which might disturb or, or disappear their habitat. Could that be such a situation in which one can see and say, oh, I have a little bit like they go on canoe and stuff. What are the activities of people in the forest, and what kind of food like you can,
Yeah, so I think the food the indigenous West Papuans usually eat are the things they find in the forest, right? If you live deep in the forest, you probably eat, a lot of fruit, fish you find in the river, in the nearby rivers. Sweet potatoes are a very common, food. A lot of West Papuans, but also in the Pacific region, eat. If you live nearby the coast, you will eat a lot of fish. So you see different kind of traditions in the tribes you find in West Papua. And that is something really, really interesting to look, because these 250 tribes have actually their own very language, and you have like small tribes with their own values, and that makes this island very unique. And it is, and if you compare it in the broader narrative in the Western countries where they now, emerged with a climate crisis, which actually the reason of that is because they have disbalanced the unique life of indigenous communities all across the world, in Africa and Amazon, but also in West Papua. And I think this is going to be our decade, because it is our unique way of life. Yeah. Balancing with nature is why we have prevented an even bigger crisis in the global climate crisis discussion. And that is what actually transformed me as, besides a freedom fighter, also a climate change activist. And this is why West Papua is housing the third largest rainforest in the world after the Amazon and the Congo Basin. And the thing I'm educating people in the Netherlands, but also in London, and also on a political level, is about, you guys are talking about solar panels, showering less. It is wrong. The discussion should go about colonialism, should go about capitalism, about racism against, indigenous peoples and peoples in the global south, because it's the Western industries who have, ignored the story of, for example, West Papua, but other stories in Africa and Amazon as well. And those are the root causes what brought us to this climate crisis. So if you want to solve it, you cannot talk about, solar panels. You should talk about colonialism, about greed, corporations which are operating in West Papua for world's biggest gold mine, ignoring our basic rights. Those are the root elements of, and it is shocking them. So I'm changing the narrative in the Netherlands, educating people about, because you don't tell your people about what is happening against my people or my brothers and sisters in Africa and in South America, is why we come to this climate crisis. So this is an interesting thing that I'm really optimistic about, because what we have done in West Papua with our campaign and the United Liberation Movement is that we have mobilized the entire nation of West Papua and the peoples to educate themselves, to be proud of their identity as indigenous West Papuan, and that we are capable of, governing our own country. We've showing them, in the early 60s when the Dutch gave us the opportunity. And we have a lot of students who want to study. The only thing we don't have is freedom to control our own resource, to build the best green economy we can imagine. That is our vision. And this is something, which is encouraging me and our campaign and the United Liberation Movement, that we have a vision that we can build the first green economy in the world on a black island nation of West Papua. So, yeah, absolutely confident. Absolutely confident.
Wow. I mean, one thing you said, and this is why we are here today, is that this is our decade. This is our decade.
Yes.
Because we're having these discussions because the world is upside down.
Yes.
Because Absolutely. Of technology or because of whatever thing. And so it is an opportunity for this kind of green economy. We see it in every sector. And the most pathetic thing is those that don't own it don't even have an idea.
Absolutely.
The way we do. So do you see this as the chance that we know that we're free people?
Yeah, absolutely, sister. I think, the reason I'm optimistic every day And what I'm educating students on university, but also professors, is the following. What we have realized in West Papua the last 5 to 10 years, living without freedom, with an oppression on a daily basis by the Indonesian military, with very little resources, we have created this immense of change, this global support and awareness. This gives me the confidence, and not only me, but our campaign, that, when we have that mind of confidence and knowing where we're heading to, and what we wanted to do with an independent state, the capabilities which our natural resources give us, the same for the African continent. The Western countries are just using all the resources in Africa. We're not poor. Africa is not. They keep us poor. And this is the mindset which we believe, and I believe, that we should empower each other and bring out working towards this vision that I strongly believe will happen and must happen this decade. And that is something I'm really looking forward to collaborate and share experiences with our brothers and sisters in Africa and the diaspora abroad, to collaborate, work on this vision. This is going to be our decade. I strongly believe that, absolutely.
Wow. I'm going to be opening up the lines so people can share your concerns. Our brothers are really here to just wish you, what do I want to say? They want to welcome you home. And all of them have been waiting to get you on the platform to share their solidarity. They've been posting a lot of messages saying, hey, we are with you, brother. We love you, brother. We miss you, and that we're happy to have you. Now, what is it, for instance, that you want, that you can say, this is what I would like my brothers on the continent to do? Share the message further, host talks on West Papua, or organize exchange programs. What is it that you want us as your brothers, apart from just the awareness and something, to do for you, to do for our brothers out there? What is concrete that you say, these are the steps that we can work together, not just only raising awareness, but maybe do some concrete things?
Yeah, absolutely. Sister, thank you very much. This is the golden question. And my answer would be this. The foundation of our campaign and our struggle is based on individuals who find the time and moral responsibility to do something with the freedom or tools they have, with their own individual background. So, to make it concrete, yes, of course, I want everybody to raise awareness, but every individual can do that in their own, or his or her own very way. For example, a student can make a project on school. An academic can write an article, or a journalist can write an article. A musician can make music about West Papua. A politician can raise awareness in the parliament. So every individual, and I strongly believe that, has a strong voice to create change for those who are searching for hope. And this is my encouragement to my brothers and sisters in Africa or the diaspora abroad, to use their freedom and the little time they have, to share a message, to create an event, to write a news article, to play a song, to lobby at political levels. Everybody can do something. And every little thing would be an immense hope for the brothers and sisters in West Papua.
Yes, I think action must commence. But the one thing that we know is that we have been acting. You have been acting in West Papua. We've been acting in Southern Cameroon, Sabazonia. Our brothers in Nigeria have been acting in the Biafra conflict. Those in Democratic Republic, we have conflicts in Nigeria with Boko Haram, and in the north of Cameroon. All this conflict, we have been acting, but we have not been acting as one voice. We've been acting as individual people, and it has been so difficult for us to win. It has even made it so difficult for us to even understand our own challenges, what is happening down south, what is happening in the entire Pacific region. Do you think, I think we from the Pan-African Daily TV has made it a responsibility I mean, I'm talking about all our audience and our followers. We are a family, and
Yes.
you are also part of the family, that we want to start addressing this as a collective challenge.
Yes.
Meaning,
Yes.
I mean, when something affects us in West Papua, it is our concern.
Yes.
If it's happening in Southern Cameroon, it is the concern of everyone.
Yes.
If it is happening in Nigeria, we should consider. That's the kind of spirit of unity that we think that we have an opportunity as a new decade to reconcile us as one people, so that we can present all our issues on the table, and we debate on how do we solve this conflict collectively, how do we solve this collectively, and then we think that we could be unified on terms of challenges and the conflicts that we have. What's your take on that?
Yes, absolutely. Underline it, sister. I think, apart from that, every individual can create change. I think the power is in collaborating, making this one voice. This is absolutely the biggest potential we should invest on, such as this. So we stay connected on every level where we can raise a voice together. We should use that opportunity, because that is exactly what this colonial system don't want to happen. They want to divide us separately. They make conflicts everywhere so that we are struggling. So yes, we have to break that down, to look over it and work together. Create new visions, new perspective together with a unity. Absolutely agree.
Do you have the impression that you are in the Netherlands now, like let's say like a migrant, and you are educating the Netherlanders who are also part of the root cause of what we're talking about? And do you have the impression that they're listening?
It is changing, yes, because why? Because we have a shared history. But I see a big group of ignorance still. So yes, it is against the wind. Let me say it that way. It is not changing by itself. It costs a lot of time and energy, and still you're walking a lot of times to the wall. So yes, so there's a lot of work to do, because still there is a systematic problem. And we know slavery didn't end when it ended. It got new forms, and that is still here among us. So that is something we face on a daily basis. So it's racism doesn't disappear, and also the white big narrative is still here. So they're not interested in our stories or in African stories, and that is something which I still see. Obviously, absolutely.
Okay. Yes, I think so too. I think so, brother. I think that the action that we need to take now first should be a collective action. I mean, we have a lot of platforms. Like we are always saying they don't listen, the West don't listen. I think they listen, but we have to come together to talk about us from us. You understand? Like the kind of campaign. I'm saying it because I have a platform in Germany for more than 20 years, and one of the biggest platform, and 60% are Germans that are coming to listen, to hear. So it's because when we influence, even out here, we are still going to host those kind of platforms on the continent starting 2021, where we educate ourselves and inform ourselves and build a team and a competence of even going to these platforms that Africans are creating, or non-Africans even. Why? Because the same way that this history has been distorted and kept for generations from us, it's the same way that this history has also been distorted and kept away from their people. Absolutely. And now we have a young group of very curious, especially the young population in Europe and out here. They're curious about foreign cultures, about history. And most of them, they wander to Africa or that, even just to do their research. And because we can from our own, but when we start also educating their own grassroots and their children to know what their forefathers did to us, and believe me, the systems are not stopping us from doing that. They give us the platform, and they give us the platform to create this kind of campaigns, awareness, educational program. It's not in those days like you used to say, where they'll say, oh no, this is a platform only for Black people. It's an open space. So what you're saying and what we're saying is we would have to move to action plan, brother. We must not about just talking. We have to move to action plan because we have all our brothers and sisters watching us all over the world here. And everyone is saying, yes, we know the challenges now, but we want to move ahead and take concrete actions. Do you see that happening soon?
I hope so, sister, because that's the only way we can break down the system which kept us behind, right? So we have to stand up and create the perspective we want to see for our people, because the West definitely look the other way. We can see that we still they want to keep us where we are right now. So it's up to us. So yes, I think we have to stand up, and as as black family from African descent all across the world, and joining forces to build our future and our perspective. Absolutely true.
Correct. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard him. You've shared all the information that he's been educating and mentoring us today. The lines are open. The lines are open, and we look forward. Brother Rocky is here to take your questions or to share your concerns or to know how you can also be useful. For us to give this open ear, I'm very grateful to have us here. I mean, today we nearly hit even the deadline that Facebook has been giving to us. We're almost at 200 watching from this source. This is incredible, what we've not been having in the past because of the lockdown that we had and the limitation. But you see, topics like this, Africans are just pouring in on the continent. They want to share this history that our brothers and sisters have. Most of us, even on the curriculum on the continent in the education, we don't have a history like this. Or even if we had, probably we were not really also, no, it was not in a system on the pandemic where we are all just chilling down and listening and understanding with our brains. Now, coming back to this, what is the situation of COVID-19 in West Papua?
Well, this is a worrying thing. It's like a crisis above a crisis, right? Because we don't actually have real control and authority in West Papua. So there was a huge protest among the indigenous West Papuans and also from the local government, who actually said we have to lock down West Papua for migrants who are coming in from other parts of Indonesia or from Asia and other parts of the world. So which is a threat for the indigenous communities, for the indigenous West Papuans. So that's actually a tough struggle right now, because of the Indonesia is hunting indigenous West Papuans right now nearby, operations nearby the world's biggest gold mine. There was some other humanitarian crisis on villages against West Papuans. So it is actually a double crisis in West Papua since the coronavirus break touches West Papua. But I actually don't know the real numbers right now. The only thing is that our leadership have called them to go back to the villages where we live with nature and we have no contact with the people who can give the virus from one to another. So, but it is worrying. It's really worrying.
Yes, it is disturbing entirely. But I think, and I hope, and I know, like I can imagine that there will be no COVID in the forest areas, because I see it happening because of your relationship to nature, and so if the borders are closed from those that are penetrating to come to the village, we know that you're safe, especially your way of life. And this is something that we don't want to give it away. We don't want to give it away, Africa. I mean, sometimes we look at it as primitivity or uncivilization because our eyes have been turned to look at the world differently. But I can guarantee you that if you've been in the civilized world and you don't see any advantage, you envy the lifestyle of our brothers and sisters here. We see a lot of tourism going out in these sectors because people just want to go back to nature. They envy people in the forest that have not even, been contaminated by all this kind of, exotic system. So yeah, brother, the calls are coming in, and we will be having this conversation. And yeah, let's pick the first call.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, I hear you. Yes, I'm picking up a call. Hello?
Okay. Hello, this is brother Ado Kundinjai.
Yes. Can you switch off the volume?
Program from Germany.
Yes, can you switch off the device that you have behind you, brother, so that I can hear you?
Okay.
Now
Is
it's
it
good.
okay now?
Yes, it's very okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much to our brother, and definitely it is indeed heart touching to listen to our brother from the other side of the Pacific, that's West Papua. I have two areas that definitely I think in Africa we need to concentrate more on this area.
Okay.
Yeah, that is first of all, that is an educational side,
Mm-hmm.
and that of the spiritual side.
Correct.
Because the educational side is most, or I can say all of us, especially this generation and our parents' generation, we were miseducated.
Mm-hmm.
We were miseducated. Our culture, our history is been written by people who colonize us. And for us to know the secret, they kept this secret and just brought out only a little fraction of it.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, the young generation, we need to be educated from our miseducation.
Correct.
Yes.
One of this American scholar by the name I think I forgot the professor, but anyway, the book he wrote is called The Miseducation of the Negro.
Correct.
Yeah.
Miseducation of Negro. If you read this, if you have chance to read this book, you would see the current curriculum of Africa. Our educational curriculum across the board in Africa is being infiltrated. It's being manipulated by our former colonizers. Yes. And this is across the Negroes across the world. So for us to get the actual fact of our past history, we need to be revisited on this side. So definitely, and if you come to our spiritual side also, we are being infiltrated. Mm-hmm. So for us to have proper understanding of our dilemma, we need to revisit these two areas. Other areas are there, but to me, these areas are very, very important. So I really appreciate our brother, and while I'm listening to him, I'm also in Germany. Mm-hmm. While I'm listening to him, it reminds me. In fact, I have a link with a sister in West Papua, in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. This sister, I had a chance to meet this sister online, and the moment I saw her, she told me she's from Indonesia. I told her, no, you are from West Papua. Mm-hmm. She told me, she said, how do you know? I said, from your picture. I said, I'm following development of Indonesia, especially in the West Papua side. How do the inhuman treatment Indonesia is inflicting on our people in the West Papua. Mm-hmm. So definitely, like I said, I really appreciate him, and definitely, I really want to also be connected with the movement. I'm also here. I'm a Gambian, but I am now resident in Germany. Mm-hmm. And really, I am definitely also for African unity and the unity of our brothers and sisters across the globe. So definitely, thank you to our brother Raki, mm-hmm. And you, sister Gata.
Yes.
So thank you so much. The others are on the line and they also want to contribute. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, over to you, brother Raki.
Yes. Thank you very much for the comment my brother made. And yes, very welcome. Really lovely to hear that, you want to help us being a voice, and feel free to contact us, and always open to, to work together. That is absolutely our aim, and absolutely in the African diaspora and in the African continent, but also abroad in the Europe. Let's work together. I think that is where the magic will happen. So that is something we would lovely to invest in the future. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to take this other call. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Sister Susan.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. We miss you, Tracy. How are you?
I'm fine. fine. I've been busy with work. Just a quick one. Hi, good evening, Brother Raki. First of all, congratulations for the work you've done so far. I'm really, really ashamed. Like, seriously, the history of West Papua and, you know, some of the things that you've really put out here, it's really touching. And I understand your point. I see where you're coming from in terms of coming together, you know, being more focused and creating more awareness in this direction. I just have a few questions. And my first question is, I just wanted to ask you, how is it like with the less privilege? You know, do you have any sort of like foundation? Are you doing any fundraising to help probably orphans? I'm more interested in that aspect, probably collectively with people or individually. So I don't know how I could reach that aspect, you know, coming through you as far as we continue with the struggle. I just feel like I can individually or with some other people listening contribute, because with the situation you've described, I can't really figure out how the less privileged, especially in remote areas with the lockdown, with the corona, what is it that can urgently be done at the minute, especially with children, you know, those that have no access to water, electricity, food, or, you know, I just want to know, what do you think someone can individually do if they were willing to?
Thank you, sister. I think that's a fair question, and also a good one. To launch a project individually in West Papua is possible, but the Indonesian government is right above it. So, but if it's a humanitarian project, you know, if you want to make water or education, I think the opportunity is there for West Papua. Now we have a lot of NGOs working from the Netherlands, you know, to build up school systems and projects in remote villages. So those kinds of projects are possible. And from the point of our campaign, how funding is a constant process. For example, my role as spokesperson, I do that beside my full-time job here in the Netherlands as civil servant. And so I have to find the time, and I have to do fundraising, to facilitate our campaign activities in the Netherlands, and also our travel costs. So it's a continuous process.
Okay.
Sister.
Is your no? It's okay. Is your question answered?
Yes, my question is answered. I've heard him. I just wanted to ask, is there any way, in terms of African history, is there any, do they know about African history? Is there a way we can, you know, try to reach them out with African history while coming together?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when Indonesia and the Netherlands signed this agreement, there were a couple, I think 5 to 10 African governments who didn't want that to happen. So they were supporting the West Papuans on the early stages when they had the opportunity. And Senegal was one of the first nations who supported the first independence movement of West Papua with government funds. And if that would happen, that African governments would financially support, for example, you know, the independence campaign by you know, facilitating our United Liberation Movement, that would really be helpful to open the doors on international level, but also for campaign activities on the respective countries. So that would be something that would be really helpful.
Okay, yeah. Like, I think the question is like, you're doing these activities and in the Netherlands, like maybe you have, you know, an account or a place where people, apart from just raising the awareness, can show some support by contributing to these activities.
Absolutely, yeah. We have an account. We have an account where people can donate money.
Okay.
In the website, where they can, you know, support with a small big donation. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you drop that with us, or we can post it then online in case anybody is interested. Please contact us if you want to get more information from Brother Raki and their organization. As he said, they're based in the Netherlands. And do you see yourself after the lockdown maybe hosting campaigns around the UK or Germany or elsewhere? Where can one visit?
Yes, absolutely. We had a lot of planning from, if you look from the organization, the Liberation Organization, we had a lot of planning this year in the Pacific region, especially where like the Melanesian states, which is about 5 countries, but also the Pacific Island countries, are organizing once a year big events, and West Papua was there on the agenda. So what we wanted to do is raise awareness via different events in different Pacific Island nations. So that was the planning. But COVID-19, changed all this planning. So when the opportunity is there again, we will see where we can raise or create events in the first place in the Netherlands, where I'm based, and we have some events in London as well, university. So I think that will be the most first activities that we will start again, and depending on what the United Liberation Movement for West Papua is organizing with Pacific Island governments, to bigger events. I think that's the planning ahead.
Mm-hmm. Let me just go back to something not out of context, but in topic. I can imagine that these campaigns and have been going on for a while, and I think currently petitions are being signed or something like that, from the United Nations. I think there must have been some kind of like a petition, or that maybe your parliamentarians or activists have visited the United Nations or the African Union to discuss such issues. Has there been any kind of political negotiation online or reaction or petitions that's been going on in the past?
Yes, so absolutely, sister. We have launched in 2017 a online petition in the first place to collect signatures in West Papua, to show the world and the UN and Indonesia that the West Papuans has one desire. And what we have reached is a petition of 1.8 million signatures collected in secrecy from village to village in West Papua. And this is for 70% of the West Papuan population and a lot of migrants who live there, because we have 1.2 million people living in West Papua. We got a 1.8 million signatures, but also from people abroad. So this is a huge signal to the UN, but also to Indonesia, that this is the will of the West Papuan people is in this petition. And this petition has been handed over to the British Parliament, to the leader of the Labour Party, but also to the UN Human Rights Commissioner based in Geneva. And this was a shock for the colonizer Indonesia, because we have shown them that the will and the desire of the West Papuans is very clear. They want independence, and it has been signed in this petition. And it's the majority of the West Papuans have shown their commitment. And the thing we have to do now is to upgrade it on international level and make sure that governments of the respective countries support a possible, motion or resolution to give back the West Papuans' right to self-determination. And that is something we need, our brothers and sisters in every country who raise their voice and make sure that their respective government do their part to support West Papua when it is needed on the UN level.
Okay. The brother who called from Germany, I think he raised some two important concerns. If we as an African people, be it on the continent or in the diaspora, must understand is two aspects that are actually at stake. The education, education that should be adaptable on our history and adaptable to our way of life. And the second one he raised was the spirituality, our spirituality. And I know he was actually being concerned or touching this point, because people, especially those that are in the nature, are those that are so connected spiritually. Their level of spirituality is so high. And this could be some concerns like we are. Now the question is, do you in West Papua have, like in the educational system, this history? Do the people get education about what happened in the past or what is still happening to them, like in the school system?
No, absolutely. This is really two important questions, which I agree with him. What in West Papua is not happening is our educational perspective, because we have been educated what the colonizer Indonesia want us to be aware of, to be educated. And I think, and I don't know how it is in other African, countries, but we are still colonized. And the result of it is that we can't educate our people the way we want them to be educated, which is about our cultural values. The songs my father made about our cultural relevance, about the music we made, the food we eat for centuries, the way we live. So these are things which should be educated to our children and next generation, but it doesn't happen because Indonesia is controlling our educational, school materials. This is a big threat. And I agree with my brother from Germany who's saying that we must educate, our own history and the way we live, which is very spiritually. And what you can see, whether we live in West Papua or in Senegal or in Cameroon, is that we have a lot of common, things, which is contact with us, with spirits, with our ancestors, the way we cook, the way we eat, based on nature values, human-based, human-to-human contact. And this is something we have to educate because this is where the power is and we are connected. We don't have to say anything, we feel it, the way we act, the way we dress, the way we eat. And that is something, the value of indigenous people in West Papua, in Africa, and in Amazon, this is what makes us unique and what makes us one big family. I strongly believe in education. Our education system is what we should educate our next generations.
Okay, yeah. We don't even want to wait. Brother Raki. We want to start now. That's why we are trying, and there are a lot of organizations that are coming on, even on this platform, and talking about this education system. I mean, all the speakers that basically have been on the Pan-African Daily TV mention always the need for our education to be refurbished. And now, but we are saying that we don't even need to go back to the classroom system to say they have to implement it on our curriculum. If we revolutionize our systems and just say, what if we start homeschooling? Homeschooling doesn't mean that we're not going to send our kids. I see it like in the Western system, what they do, and they have this they invest a lot of education on, a lot of money on their educational systems, not the school, not the academic education, not the conventional education. Even education out of classroom is the most precious education. And I think that's one of the systems that we really can embark on. We can embark on homeschooling for our kids. I mean, I don't think these systems that taught us, as we say in our curriculum, the miseducation of the Negro, and today they are not doing that anymore. But we have the responsibility as people to carry on the kind of education that we want for our children. I can imagine that your kids, because you're dressing like that, your children are already, even though they're born in the Netherlands or you and your family, you still go on the street or to your events like this. That's the education we're talking about. But the point is, we keep always basing the fact like we know the situation. We know that we've been miseducated.
Yes.
But the challenge is us to unlearn and practice it, us to hold to our own values. We do it like it's a common natural thing because we have to eat our plantains, our sweet potatoes. It is part of us. But now we're not doing it in a kind of a system like, educating even our kids that are born out here because they don't grow in that kind of a way if we don't transport them. So we are thinking that these things we can start doing it. We can take the educational system because we're not going to fight it. If we say they have to put our spirituality on the context, it's going to be because we're in a challenge. We're fighting two systems that are colliding. And so, but we have to always find our way of raising our own values. For instance, African spirituality that you're talking about, closer to nature, living from natural things. First, it's just a whole 80% of staying out of diseases.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're totally right. And I think when I mean we have to re-educate ourselves, it doesn't mean we have to go to school. Absolutely not. It's the way, we done it in villages. Our ancestors tell our stories in a living room. So that is the education by, re-educate, our next generations about who we are. And you can do that in the living room. You can do that, online via this kind of platform to educate them about the true values, about, how our ancestors brought the knowledge to the generations.
Yes. All right, let's pick this other call.
Yes.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Errol. How are you doing today?
Good evening, man.
Your line is kind of breaking out there, Errol. Do you hear us? Okay, just call again. I think something is hanging, Errol. That was a caller from the Caribbean, from Barbados. But he will call again. Yes, he will call again. Sorry. Okay, he's back. Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. One-on-one. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, brother. Yes. I just want to commend and lay some points and let the brother understand that we as African are ready to unite.
Yes.
And the measure and the direction we are going, and we must know this first, sir, that there's no help for our race. The same abuse and miseducation that you are facing, we are facing in the continent of Africa, and we are facing here in the Caribbean islands, Jamaica, Barbados, right around the diaspora.
Yes.
We have to be real as human now. If we are going to unite, we have to figure the way out. We are doing this together as people, not just as government.
Correct.
Yes.
The only way this will be better for us now is that I feel so good to see that we are starting to connect, not just by talking, but by showing our action. Because we have spoken to persons all over the world, and we realize that all of us is in the same situation. We want the people in your country to know this, that we Africans, not just in the diaspora, but all over the world, is ready to unite and change all of the so-called leaders that we have voted in and who we have put in power. I just want you to understand this too, sir, that all the information that you have, if you're able to use the internet, try to connect with all of us. Try to educate the persons that do have the educational levels to use the computer in your country to put out the information. Once we get the information, we will fight the fight together. If you're dependent on the EU, the Indonesian government, it's not going to work. We're talking about us. We're talking about our legacy. You are a part of, or should I say, the people of Papua is a part of our legacy, and we will work together from our legacy and go further. And I'm asking the African leaders that is listening to us and persons that is on the platform that is supporting the movement for us to unite, to make sure that when we are unifying, we're not leaving out no black man, no black woman on this continent. Not because you may be in Asia or you may be in the Caribbean and you're not born in Africa, but we are all black. And we are ready to unite, sir. Get the kids ready, get yourself ready, and Africa, let's reach out to our brothers and sisters all over, because we are facing the same criminality, the same murder and slander by the same system. And we ourselves, our people, are going to fix this. Papua New Guinea, you are going to be free. Just believe like how we believe in each other.
Wow, brother, thank you very much. This is so emotional, touching, and encouraging me and my people to hear this. This is the hope we're really looking for, and it is happening. I feel it. And I'm very looking forward to unite wherever possible, to make this movement great and make it happen. We have to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes.
Amazing.
It's gonna work, and it's gonna work from us to us.
Yes.
We don't have any choice. We don't even have any time to wait. And I strongly believe that nobody's even opposing. Nobody's opposing us too. So maybe we are not taking the chance.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping us, like we're saying, to actually educate ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like here in Germany, you have the conventional educational system, but you have probably other institutes, like you have the Greeks, they have their Greek school, where when the children leave these other schools, they go there, you know, to get education from their own culture.
Yeah.
You have the Turkish people, they have their own schools. You have, you know, you have all other cultures.
Yes.
Even British, they have their own educational system, which is their British Cultural Center.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Africa, on all the continents in Africa, we have, for instance, I'm taking an example, we have the German Cultural Center called the Goethe Institute. We have it in every country on the continent. But if you come in the diaspora, we don't have the Africa Cultural Centers.
Exactly.
You understand? We don't have where we teach our own history. And that's why I'm saying it is enough of a blame game. I don't even think somebody is stopping us right now that we should not do our own thing.
Yeah.
But maybe we've been so used to that we get so adapted to it and we feel so comfortable to do our own things.
Yeah.
It's time that we have to initiate these things. If all of us are in the diaspora, we need a system where they go to their normal school, because we're not going to force the Germans or the Europeans to put African history on their curriculum. No, it's not going to happen. In the Netherlands, they're not going to do it. But if we have an African center in the Netherlands where all the children of our culture would come together, maybe once in a week or on weekends, and we educate them, we must start doing 80% of what we're talking here.
Yes.
So sometimes we might blame the governments. We know the systems is difficult and the challenges faced out there, but we as people on this platform are saying we want to start somewhere. We want to start by ourselves. We want to gather. It doesn't matter whether there are 5 or 4 or youth in our community, we gather them and give back. Nobody is stopping us from doing that. No system stops us now.
Absolutely. Amen, sister. This is true. We have to do it, and we have to set up African houses, you know, where we educate about our countries and about our perspective, about our, you know, countries and about our identity. This is what they're doing as well. So, you know, so we have to set this up. Absolutely agree, sister. Absolutely agree.
We have to, because I think the transforming of mindset, Nema, I'll pick your call. I see you. We have the systems. And I think we have never ever had to think twice like we're having the conversation now. We gather as African people in the diaspora, but we talk about different things. We gather and maybe we share information or enjoy ourselves, but we have never, with this perspective of educating ourselves about us. We've not worked on that agenda up to now. And I think this is one thing that we must start having these African houses all over, also for our diaspora here, and even on the continent, even though it is Africa. In Germany, you still have the German Cultural Center in their own country. So we can still have such institutions that are out of the confessional system into the public life system where we talk about us. We have the French Cultural Center in the countries that are French colonies. We don't have our own centers. And we go there and listen to them and play their music, and they put the pop jazz culture into us or whatever thing. And we look at it as civilized. We got to change the people. We have to think differently. Now I'm going to get this call from Nema. Hello, Nema.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you very much for picking my call, and also thanks to our brother. And I just have a contribution. And what I just want to add to what we've just say about if there is anyone stopping us. I don't think anyone's stopping us either, but somehow I feel that we haven't done so much effort on, on what we want, because even here in maybe Europe where we are, even these, people, sometimes they're like, do you teach your children your language? But
correct.
If you compare us if you look at us as Africans and you look at Arabs you know, their children, they are born here in Europe, they speak their language, they eat their food the way they, you know, according to their tradition and culture. But you can see so many African children, they can't even speak their language. They are ashamed of their own culture, their own food and all that. So somehow I just feel like if we keep, you know, repeating the same, that it's because we're colonized, we'll never change and we'll never take action.
Correct.
So I think maybe we talk a lot, but I think we should talk less and act, because I believe that there is no some, you know, there is no like cooperation between us, and we never act. We only talk, because I believe in here, Arab, like here in Denmark where we are, there is Arab, they have their school education system, their children, you know, the school, they finish everything. But no African, even African, they don't even have like, you know, where they can maybe teach their children just, you know, their language, maybe food, culture, nothing. So somehow I feel maybe we should stop blaming, you know what has happened to us, but we should go and act and, you know, like find ourselves together and maybe talk what, you know, we should go into action. That's my contribution, because we can't keep talking and you know, never act. So it's really sad. It's really sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that contribution. I think that's the same thing that we are saying here. And that's one of the reasons that Professor Pierre Lumumba is actually actively putting this kind of structure in the background. Like we have to get a PLO foundation all over the world. And the main purpose is for us to get this kind of centers where we gather our children, teach them about the leadership on the continent and even in the diaspora. Until we have such structures, we can talk and talk and talk and we'll go back. Because when we feel involved and get this engagement and the connections, when we are on the same level, educating our own self, how do we as a small family of Africans act towards each other? What do we put our interest and focus on regarding our children? Most of us don't. And so I think this action has to start. Like I said, we're not going to wait or we're not going to say anything. We know the history. We know it already. We can teach it and teach it and teach it. It's not going to change anything. It was history. History means something that happened in the past. But what we want to avoid is it should not happen in the future. But we are not doing anything to stop it from happening in the future. So what we are afraid that we are addressing only with our speaking, which we should be transforming into action, is let this history not repeat itself again.
Yes.
So thank you for your contribution, sister. Brother Aki, I think, Raki, this is the standpoint that we're saying we have to move.
Absolutely agree. I think, you know, as I mentioned before, this must be our decade. And indeed, with what the sister mentioned, you know, the time of talking is over. This is time to act, and to act right now. And that is something, you know, I'm looking very forward and taking my part in my community in the Netherlands, and to collaborate and to share our perspective and our stories, to learn from each other what went wrong, and to restore the things which should be restored on behalf of our peoples and our countries and our background and our histories.
Thank you very much, brother. It has been a pleasure to share this wonderful time with you out here. And like I said, it's not going to be the last time. It's just the start of this discussions. Yes, our own duty on the Pan-African Daily TV is to have these conversations. While we talk, we bring the solutions to all this talk. So I hope that our listeners out there have been able to understand or to even connect, just relating new Papua Guinea. And I'm very, very certain that this word will not leave us today. It's not going to leave us soon, because like one guest that we had yesterday said, anyone that is watching us on this platform, you know that this talks and this movement now is going to follow you. You can't even cut away from it, because the one thing is probably we were not acting or looking for solutions because we were not talking. And a lot of people were saying like we didn't know, but now we know. And if we know, we don't act, so the ghost of our ancestors would follow us. All right. After this call, hello.
Greetings.
Greetings to you, brother.
Greetings.
daily TV show?
Yes, you're live, brother. You're live. And Brother Raki is hearing.
Right, thank you. I am Michael Alexis from Grand Havana in Salisbury, Commonwealth of Dominica.
Of Dominica, yes, brother.
And concerning Brother Rafi is talking about, he mentioned that his father was a musician. What I can say is that in music, there is a lot of education.
Yes.
And I'm saying that if Africa can organize a musical tournament, we will be educated, because music is able to educate everyone. A musical tournament, almost like what happened in America in the 1970s, Woodstock Festival. If we have something like that in Africa every day and every year, I think we all will be educated on what happened to us, to our forefathers, and where we are heading to now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So he is like Brother Raki. Your father left a legacy based on music, and like it should be possible that we can have the Pan-African Daily TV or a United Africa Music Festival for information and education and awareness and campaigns, and also a step forward that could be also paying this allegiance to our great musician. And music is something that unites and connects, you know, beyond boundaries. Do you see that happening? I mean, I would love to even hear a song from your father.
Well, I hope, and I'm looking forward to such an event, because I underline my brother's words that, music is education, could be education. That's exactly why Indonesian colonizers murdered my father, because he educated the West Papuan people about the importance of their values, their identities. So yes, absolutely true. And I think the power of music is bringing people together. He brought the nation together, educated them about their background, about their identity. And this is exactly what Bob Marley was doing, bringing together people around the world. I believe the power of music, and I think we can use this as part of bringing our peoples together and educate them in events. That would be a very lovely moment I'm looking forward to.
Perfect. I also look forward, and I'm a part of that because that's my background and that's my forces too, that we look forward for a United Africa Festival, be it on the continent, be it in the diaspora. And all this, what we're building here is where we're going to meet face to face, because we're talking from a distance, we're hearing ourselves, but we should start planning to get a festival for a United Africa Festival, or Festival of African People of Descent, from us to us. And that should happen, I mean, when the borders open in 2021. So thank you so very much, brother, for being here with us. I would like you to give your last word before we depart from the studio with you. And knowing that we would have to have you maybe in 3 weeks, or depending on your program, some other time here to, tell us the way forward, or what you've been able to do, how we can keep on this struggle alive.
Yes. So thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation, for having me on your show. It was an absolutely pleasure and honor. And I want to thank to all the viewers and listeners who joined our conversation. Thank you for your time. And I've got one message to all my brothers and sisters: to strongly believe in who you are, because that is what drives me every single day. And people don't have to educate. I have to read in Dutch books, or don't read because they don't talk about me, but I know who I am. And that is the same thing which drives me. I know that I'm an indigenous black Melanesian man, and I have a story to tell. And that is the hope, the fire that keeps burning in me. And with that, I will do everything in my life to continue this important role, educating people about our solidarity, is about things that bring us together. And I hope everybody of you will do the same. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, stay safe and stay healthy, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so very much, brother. It was a pleasure having you Stay safe, stay healthy, one love, one people. Now you know you have a family out there and we can reach out to each other anytime. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank
God
you
bless
very
you.
much. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah. Okay, and to you, our dear listeners from the Pan-African Daily TV, I have very important, some important informations reaching us out that I want to share with you. First thing first, who is our guest speaker tomorrow and what is the topic? Yes, we have our brother from Ghana that was with us last time, brother Farouk Al-Wahab, who is going to pieces down the issue of corruption. Corruption is our topic tomorrow with brother Farouk Al-Wahab. I look forward to this session. Why? Because no matter what we discuss on the forum, no matter what we talk about, the issue of corruption is always part of the agenda. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about culture, we're talking about music. Corruption is one of the cancer and the latest pandemic that we don't want to see after post-corona on the continent and amongst us Africa. And now we've heard from our audience and other people telling us corruption has two sides of the coin. You have the corruptor and you have the corrupt. It means you as an African buying your way through the systems, you are a culprit in the process. So we want to educate ourselves. What is our role as regular people, not politicians? Because now the issue is always we're saying politicians, politicians, politicians. Who are those corrupting them? They don't corrupt among themselves. So there must be us citizens doing that. We must be supporting them. We must be facilitating the structures, and that's why it's corrupt. What is corruption? We want to digest this because this is a big topic. Yadi, you were saying the same thing, Yadi. It is a big topic and it is one of the biggest problems that we have. No matter what we talk about, corruption is going to follow us all the days of our life on the continent of Africa, in the diaspora. I think even that was even a question we should have asked our brother Raki, and he's going to testify to you that in Guinea, they are this. In New Papua, they are this. In West Papua, they are the systems that are corrupt. What is corruption, people? Al is going to digest this content with us, and you know the way he does it. And you know he's the right man on spot to table out these things. The idea is, what is your role in the system? Yesterday, Dr. Emmanuel said it very clean and clear. If you happen to win a government contract, and we see a lot of us in the diaspora buying our way through in these systems, buying the government, because we're coming from here, paying some kind of exorbitant sum to get these contracts. You are a corrupter. You are a sellout of your system. Yes, because these contracts, like Dr. Emmanuel said, would have been given to the local people. But because you come and take the advantage over others, you buy your way through. But you're the same people that will sit here and we talk about corruption. Corruption is the worst thing that I don't know how we're going to do about that, but we have to find a way and a solution to that. Because no matter what we discuss, no matter how we say we are educating ourselves, yes, but the education is, what is your role as an African citizen, as a people of Africa, as Africans collectively? What is your role? Could it happen that you're also facilitating without even being aware? Could it just happen that you play the game in a kind of a subtle way, like you say, give a dog a bad name and you hang it? All of us are talking about corruption. Who corrupts them? Who? If we look into it, we would see that we are facilitators in one way or the other, but we have no idea. We don't have any idea. If you just vote somebody that has not been changing any reforms there, you are a facilitator of corruption. And now we sit and our leaders are corrupt. They bring our monies that they would have been using on the continent. They bank in Western banks, and we start blaming them. Now, how do they generate that money? We know that we don't print monies. We know that this money is coming from somewhere. We know that they go to the office. What they do is the office to open the doorway to facilitate Corruption. And corruption is not even always between a business, the government. Why we're talking about the government is that they don't put any kind of infrastructure to stop that. They don't hold the people responsible. And that's why we say they are part of the system. But people, corruption goes even between us. Corruption can go even between business partners. You want to buy a contract, you want to get a foreign developer. That's why the world penetrates us. That's why they penetrate our government. The need for them to buy them over and win these contracts. That's why I absolutely agree. China is just parading. China is looking at us and laughing and say, Susan, you can talk all what you want. But we would just go there with our money and they would take it. Now, how corrupt are our minds? When we talk about corruption, we talk only about the systems. But how corrupt are us? How do we facilitate it without being aware? This is a topic we have to digest it. We have to hamper on it. And it's not going to be the first and the last, because I don't think that's a topic, ladies, that we're going to educate ourselves on. Or gentlemen, it cannot be a one-day topic. We would have to break down that topic, and it's going to be fire. Like Kadiri is saying, it's going to be fire tomorrow. Yes. So Al is going to be here tomorrow to start on the conversation on corruption. Corruption is, we can never tolerate it. Friday, we're going to have our brother Elijah, Elijah on India from Nairobi. He's going to be here telling us some things that we have ignored in the system of a united Africa. And he was really focusing on the aspect of we are broken, but we don't know. How can we be so rich and so poor? Not only poor because of mineral resources, but even our system, our mindset is poor. And the topic is poverty is a mindset. Poverty is a mindset that we're only poor in our brains. Saturday, we're going to have Al again on this topic, security. We are looking how we could put this talks going on in a strategic way. Like I can say, for instance, we have political topics twice a week. Why? Because these are the backbones, the lack of good governance, leadership, corruption. It's one of the things, no matter our goodwill and our effort, they will go in vain. We would have to battle with this until we lose hope and we will give up if we don't deal with this aspect. Now, what is the insecurity topic going to be about? The Africa's unending conflicts. Africa's unending wars and conflict. He's going to give us a general knowledge about the conflicts on the continent, their peculiarity, the causes, the format, the war crime systems. Why are they so particularly? Why would at war crime system you always hear that women and children are raped? This is a plan. It is a calculated plan. They are not instances that just happen in course of a war. These are war weapons that they use to depress us, to kill our brains from functioning. When somebody rapes you unexpectedly, you are a dead person. You need the whole world and system to be able to make you feel human again. So they don't rape you physically, they rape your future and your brain and everything that you take, and you become useless. So these are topics. These are strategic topics that we have to know. What are the kind of weapons that they use in these conflicts that are unending? Why is rape perpetuated? Why are the people maimed? Why are they tortured? Why are there some significance? It is an education platform, ladies and gentlemen. We're educating ourselves because most of the time we talk about these things, but we don't understand the way they function. And our duty here on the Pan-African Daily TV is to educate us so that when we start handling this discussion, we know what we're talking about. We're not going to be talking like some novice, just calling some words we don't know. We're going to be talking like professional expert. We know what we're talking about. We know how they function. We know how we can dislocate them. So if we know that rape is one of the things that they rape our girls and our women and even grandparents, Another one is burning. Look at all the conflicts. You have to hear that they've been burned in the houses, or they've been. Why do they use this? Why do they use a particular format to destabilize us? Why do we even use it? Who is using it against who? And in a united Africa, we preach love and unity, respect for one another, freedom of speech, how to express ourselves without being afraid of court and this. We are not saying we want to overthrow a system. We're educating ourselves on the systems that have been. We're having conversations about us, how the past has been, how the future is, how do we want to collectively design structures and systems that work for all of us, for our government, for our continent, for our leaders, and for us. How do we collectively, contribute in building a healthy and a prosperous Africa? Everyone on board. Everyone on board. So that is going to be a heated week here. Tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday. We look forward to have a free day off on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, because we're not able to complete some other tasks that we have here for you, because we will always have to stream on Sundays. And Sunday should be a day where we relax and we plan for the week ahead. In any case, we are on track. We are on track because of the feedbacks that we've been getting on our job, on our conversations. We are on track because the guests that we're hosting here are freelancers, so people that come and just educate us, like the one we had today, like the one we had the previous days. We are a free platform for information, to create awareness, sensitize ourselves of who we are, build the momentum, and the need for us to just connect and love ourselves again. Now, we're not here to, I don't know, what kind of fears that we have. We don't need any fear. Like you heard the sister from Denmark, nobody is stopping us from educating ourselves. Nobody. Nobody is stopping us from putting on these structures that we need, that we are addressing. Could it just be that maybe we're just lazy? Could it just maybe that we are sometimes just lazy? Can we wake up and sit on our brains and say we're going to start this movement by educating ourselves, educating our children, educating the young people on the continent, how to take responsibility and take control over their continent? Are we going to sit here and lament about our past only? Are we going to sit here and lament about those infrastructures and the inability for us to move ahead as a continent, as a people? We don't have time. We don't have time. Why? Because we're not only dealing with internal conflicts, we're also dealing with external conflicts. Remember, China. Remember the greatest threats that we are having. Our partners in development. What agendas they have with us? What is it that they have for us? We have a lot. And so we should not belabor a particular point. We have to move ahead. We have to move ahead by starting, to use our music. We look forward to African artists that we will also be hosting on the platform. Now, one last information before I leave you with 6 minutes into this show is the 25th of May. Any African, Pan-African that knows us or that understand what the 25th of May means or could have meant, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you have your handies, you have your phone, just Google. What is the 25th of May? How does it represent you as an African people? Why was this day formed? And has it met its objective? Why not? What can we do about it? Why is the 25th of May just kind of, celebrated in a kind of like a solemn way? The 25th of May, ladies and gentlemen, is the Africa Day. Yeah, some people may argue is the political Africa Day, because that was the day of the formation of the Organization of African Union, which is now the African Union, and on the 25th of May. So Monday is an exceptionally exclusive day. I haven't had a guest for that yet, because the guests that we're having, all of them, everybody, just so many. I think probably probably we're going to do a Zoom conference on that day, and have different sectors on that day, because it's a day that we want to celebrate. But one thing that I would like to have an artist. I would like to have an artist. We've been having politicians, or not politicians, political discussions. We've been having, you know, economic discussions. We've been having technology and scientific discussions. We've been having culture. We haven't even touched it as spirituality. These are all discussions that we still have to tell. We've been having, you know, investments in all sectors, agricultural sectors, the development, the diaspora relocating to invest in Africa, not relocating, can also physically, but also channeling their focus on the Africa that we want. But we want to have an artist. It is a day to celebrate. And now my team like, Susan, there's nothing to celebrate on this day. I don't know what you think out there. And let us hear from you. What is it that you want us to do on the 25th of May, which is a Monday, which is the Africa Day? I want to see your comments. I want to hear you drop your impressions. What is it that you want us to do? Do you just want us to sit and talk, or we get some musicians to just play us some old school, you know, Africa Day songs and have a discussion on that? What is the 25th of May? How does it represent us? Are we still proud as Africans to celebrate this day? Yes. And if not, why not? If no, why not? So please drop in your comment to us through our WhatsApp group, and it's still open, you know, for those that want to join us and to be having these conversations every day. And let me remind all our watchers and listeners in our various groups that have been eager and itchy for information. These are the informations that we're having on daily basis, and while we're looking forward for our platform to get ready. So ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for being here today. We still have 2 minutes to go. Let me just greet some people that I know have always been here on the show and showing us your support. Hey, one more thing. We have feedbacks from our leaders, and they're enjoying our conversations. They're listening to us. I mean, that's one of the biggest feedbacks that I had that I almost forgot to share with you. Our leaders, doesn't matter who you call your leaders, they're listening. They're watching us, and they're very proud of us that we're having these conversations. They're happy that we are educating ourselves and how we're educating them. So do not be afraid to share your opinion, to raise your voice here, and to say what we think is a positive and a possible solutions from us to us. From us to us. That is the new slogan after the pandemic, is from us to us. And so you meet your brother, you can greet him, hi, from us to us. Why not? Even if it's just a smile. Yadi, I want to thank you. You said, yes, it's the African Union Day. And yeah, we call it the Unity of the Africa Day 2020. Thank you so much for that. Kenzie, you say us to us. Yes, from us to us. That's who we are. I want to thank all of you for being on this show, and we keep it tomorrow. Our flyers already, they're available for tomorrow immediately after the show. So you can click it, you can share it with your loved ones and invite everyone to be on the show tomorrow. It's going to be hot. We're going to crack the nut on corruption. Thank you once more for being here, and together we make Africa great. Every voice matters. Every African matters. Okay? Thank you. God bless you. Stay safe and stay healthy. We see ourselves tomorrow. Same time, same place, same date. Bye-bye.